do you consider the most important guidelines?
The most important guidelines are to treat other people and other animals and the environment with respect. And if you work on that basic attitude, most of the rest of the ethical questions people get faced with are relatively easy to answer. If deity is immanent, then other people are also gods and goddesses, or at least we're godlings, and we may grow up to become gods and goddesses someday, and that means you need to treat other people as if they were also gods and goddesses. Now, that's not always easy, particularly, but I believe that it's possible to create a basic ethic and system of morality that is based on the idea of mutual respect for other people and trying to keep the amount of damage you do down to a minimum.
So that goes back to kind of the do as you will and harm to none.
Yes and no. I'm somewhat of a heretic in the community in that I think that a lot of the ethical principles people have been consciously quoting over the years don't actually work very well. Fortunately, we've evolved an unconscious ethic that does work most of the time. The harm none rule has never worked very well for the simple reason that different people define harm very differently. Okay? And there are arguments about whether or not the none includes yourself. Does it include other animals or the environment? Or what about people who want to be harmed? Are you harming them if you harm someone who wants to be harmed? Like the whole S&M crowd has been very confused about, are we really harming them? Well, no, they want me to hit them, so all right. So that the whole harm none thing doesn't work very well, except it's an appropriate principle for children. Okay, but we're grown-ups now. Our community has been maturing over the last 20 years, and we're beginning to realize that we need more complex ethical systems.
And aging.
And aging, yes, that too, says my son. One of the constant theological or polytheological issues that I'm faced with as a writer and a speaker in this field is Christian dualism. Christian dualism saturates Western culture to such an extent that it is essentially invisible to many people, including many people inside and outside of academia who think that they have escaped a Christian worldview. But in point of fact, the Christian dualist worldview influenced the beginnings of modern science because modern science grew out of the medieval university system. And even during the Age of Enlightenment, when what we think of as modern science was being developed, there were still the attitudes that, all statements are either true or false, there are no shades of gray, everything is black and white. Well, that's Christian dualist thinking. The idea that if something is bad, then its extreme opposite must be good. Okay, that again is Christian dualism. For those of your readers who might not be familiar with that, Christian dualism, it's the theological concept that's permeated early Christianity and later Islam, that the universe is divided up into warring halves of the forces of good versus the forces of evil. And everything in the universe is either good or evil, black or white, male or female, gay or straight, on or off, ones or zeros, and that is the nature of the universe, and they are eternally in conflict with each other, and there are no shades of gray, and if somebody starts talking about rainbows and sunsets, you kill them. Now, that's been the Western worldview for 2,000 years. And it's only been with the breakthroughs in science, mostly in the field of physics, where we began to realize that the universe is messier than that. The world really is ambiguous. And there was then the resistance against the idea of ambiguity in the universe was essentially a cultural resistance against something that wasn't covered by the dualist worldview. And in the dualist worldview, anything that's ambiguous is female, and therefore evil, or at very least inferior and not as brilliant and clear and logical as the masculine mind. So even people who never think about theology, we live in a culture where if every topic that's a hot button topic gets discussed only in terms of extremes, and people who want to compromise or to evolve new approaches to problem solving are attacked by both sides of any given controversy. Because, well, if you're not with us, you must be with the opposition. And, only a wuss would try to come up with a compromise on something that's this morally important, whatever the issue happens to be. And so it's very, very difficult for people to get used to the idea that maybe the world is a complicated place, that there aren't always clear-cut answers. The dualism is heavily related to what I call monotheism. And monotheism also saturates academia, and did until very recently. And that's the idea that there is a single best answer to any question, that there's a single best solution to any problem, and that if you come up with something that appears to be true, anything that disagrees with it must not be true. Well, again, that's ignoring what we know about quantum physics and the complex nature of reality, but it does fit with the Western philosophical worldview, which, again, is saturated with Christian dualism. It's the water that we swim in as cultural fish, and so it's invisible to most people. A lot of what I've done in my teaching and my writing over the last 30 years has been trying to get the fish to see the water and to realize that it is badly polluted, and that maybe they could figure out some other environment to be existing in. Maybe we can evolve wings and leave the water entirely.
And then there are the fishermen.
What?
And then there are the fishermen.
And then there are the fishermen, yes, who take advantage of all of us fish swimming in the dualish ocean. Right? So, I'm not quite sure where this deviated from.
Well, we were talking about the ethical foundation and the guidelines to live by.
Okay.
And then we said, are these part of your religious beliefs?
Well, my religious beliefs saturate everything I do. Part of those religious beliefs is accepting the complexity of nature and the ambiguity of the environment. It's realizing that the best I can do is come up with something that works from day to day, that nobody has all the answers, no matter how many scriptures they wave in your face, and that the very idea that one group of people has the answers that are suitable for every human being on the planet wouldn't have lasted 10 minutes without a few armies and inquisitions available. And the reason Western culture has begun to grow and explode and evolve in recent centuries has been specifically because of the death of religious authority in a monotheistic world. And that, of course, is one reason why in the Islamic world we're still living in the Middle Ages. Because the Islamic culture is still so dominated by their dualist worldview that it's impossible for anything to grow or change or evolve there. Pagans, by and large, believe that the gods are inside us. The gods evolved along with us. We have bodies. The gods want us to enjoy our bodies. That our ethics and our morality should be based on self-love and appreciation of the deity in other people, joy, and assuming that the gods put us here to learn lessons, enjoy our life as much as we possibly can, and then maybe we'll go on to another one, or maybe we won't. But in the meantime, we should be able to, enjoy the world that we are in. And that, in general, as long as you aren't being nasty to other people and wrecking their lives or raping the environment, the gods don't really care.